The committee is now going to move on to Resolution 21-0005R, Department of General Services update on sanitizing city-owned buildings for the purpose of requesting that the Department of General Services provide the City Council with an update on how employees of DGS have been keeping city-owned buildings clean during the COVID-19 pandemic and post information about cleaning schedules in these buildings. For this hearing, we're going to start with brief remarks from the sponsor of the resolution. Then we will hear reports from the agencies and give the committee members the opportunity to ask questions. After that, we'll move on to public testimony. Right now, we will now hear from the bill sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of this committee and my colleagues. On January 13th of 2021, I introduced this resolution about the posting requesting general services about the sanitizing city-owned buildings and post information about cleaning schedules in these buildings. I just want to get an update, Madam Chair, if I can. I know you're asking for the agencies to give a report, but I have some information about the report, if that's all right, if I can also mention some of that also. Okay, some of the reports come from Department of Health Department, HABC, DOT, DPW, Rec and Parks, the Convention Center, and Mayor's Office of Homeless Services. All their reports refer back to DGS. So my follow-up or update would be, I see that DGS has talked about the additional hand sanitizer in the station-owned facilities, but my question would be, is part of it was the posting of information about cleaning schedules in these buildings. So if someone, city employee or contract coming to the building, this was from my hearing that day, is to make sure that posting was there when the sanitizer was done, that day, the time, whoever did it. And that's my really update on that, because when I go into City Hall, I don't see none of that posted. I don't know if that's happening in other city-owned buildings that Director Chichi, that you are responsible for sanitizing. So that is my opening comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. We're going to go directly into agency reports. And just for committee members, just a reminder, we're going to hold our questions until we get through all of the agencies. The Department of General Services.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Chichi Niaganash, Director of the City's Department of General Services. But if it's quite all right, before I respond to Councilman Stokes' question, I'd like to give a summary of the response that DGS submitted. So the Department of General Services, as was referenced by Councilman Stokes, is responsible for a certain subset, for managing a certain subset of the city's buildings. And so the efforts that I will be speaking upon are based on those particular facilities. Since the beginning of the pandemic, some of the changes that we have made to the way we manage and clean and sanitize these buildings have included the following. One is an increase in the scope of janitorial or custodial contractual services and obligations as it pertains to the frequency of regular cleaning and high touch point sanitization. We have also in our buildings installed installed receptacles for the sanitary disposal of certain PPE, such as masks and gloves. That's a separate contract from the janitorial, and those are disposed of. Those are collected and disposed of by an additional third party to ensure that we are not putting those items into the regular waste stream to be handled by the custodial services. We have installed numerous numbers of hand sanitizing stations in common areas, at entryways, within offices, and we continue to partner with the Office of Emergency Management to fulfill requests from agencies for additional resources such as masks or or large volume hand sanitizer for people, for workstations, for desks, antiseptic wipes for individuals to clean their own personal work areas. We facilitate those requests and like I said, fulfill them through OEM's COVID warehouse. We have also been doing a series of indoor air quality assessments in our buildings to determine the frequency of circulation of the air from the exterior into the interior, to make sure that those spaces do have free-flowing air, and that the air quality is adequate for the spaces to be occupied. Where we have found that it's not, we have taken steps to remedy the system themselves, which could involve expensive HVAC capital project replacements, which we had already identified and are currently underway, or could just involve the installation of freestanding air filtration HEPA systems. Signage within the buildings, and I'll get to your specific question, Councilman Stokes, about signage on frequency of cleaning, but signage within the buildings is prominent. So at the entrance to all our buildings, within the buildings, you will now see large format signage that addresses everything from face covering requirements to the need to hand sanitize often, to maintaining social distance, to just COVID health and hygiene tips and requirements. We have that signage, like I said, throughout the buildings, and anytime our team up liaisons or our employees within those facilities receive questions, they have the information that they're armed with the information to be able to respond to the occupants of those spaces. And so those are just a few of the changes that we have made in our buildings in response to having to operate within a pandemic setting. And now we'll answer your specific question, Councilman Stokes. So no, we don't have signage prominently displayed about frequency of cleaning of the high touch points. Where one would find those is in the bathroom. So behind every bathroom door, there should be a schedule that indicates when that space was cleaned and sanitized, which should mirror the rotation within the building of that custodial crew, and that just covers the regular cleaning. The high touch point cleaning, it would be difficult to nail down, like this happens at this time, because what the custodial crews are instructed to do is, as they walk through an area, wipe down those high touch points. So it's not something that's based on a clock that they will be in this hallway or in this office suite at a certain time providing that service. It is just done on a rotating basis.
Thank you, Director. We're going to move on to the Mayor's Office of Employment Development.
Good morning, Madam Chair and City Council. This is John Ford, Project Specialist, speaking for the Mayor's Office of Employment Development. MEWED is in favor of the resolution and is sent to report with our response. Thank you.
Thank you. The Mayor's Office of Homeless Services.
Good afternoon. This is Bill Wells, Deputy Director for the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services. We've submitted a report and MOHS stands by that report.
Thank you. The Department of Health.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Paul Nibber, Director of Legislative Affairs, on behalf of the Health Department. We stand by our report. Thank you.
Thank you. The Housing Authority of Baltimore City.
Good morning, Madam Chair and other committee members. This is Janine Dunn on behalf of the Housing Authority. We stand by our report.
Thank you. The Department of Transportation.
Madam Chair, Liam Davis, Baltimore City DOT. We stand by our bill report.
Thank you. Department of Public Works.
Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Marcia Collins representing the Department of Public Works for this hearing. We submitted our report. We do utilize the services of the DGS contractors for all the sanitizing that may become necessary for areas and vehicles that could be have been exposed to persons who may be testing positive. And we'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Department of Recreation and Parks.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Nina Themles with the Mayor's Office of Government Relations. A representative from Rec and Parks was not able to participate today. However, they do stand by their report and taking no position on the resolution.
And last, the Baltimore Convention Center.
Madam Chair, Nina Themles again with the Mayor's Office of Government Relations. I don't see a representative from the Convention Center, but they do have a report on file where they provided formally no response to the resolution, and they would stand by the report as well.
Thank you. We're going to open the floor to, we're actually going to start with Councilman Stokes at this time for any additional questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Chi-Chi, look like you got all the work here. Everybody referring everything to you today. I'm looking at the reports, but I know you mentioned about putting the on the bathroom doors. Is there any way it can be posted that if I come through City Hall, I don't know if somebody been sanitizing the doorknobs and all that, because you say it's posted at the bathroom door. Can it be posted anywhere else besides that? I mean, if I come into the building, I need to go look behind the bathroom door to see when it was done. I just wanted to be visible, so when people come into the building, and I understand you saying you can't just say sign off and who did it that day, that time, but if it's already being posted, can you make it more visible instead of going to the bathroom door to find out if any what day or what sanitizing they did, particularly on that day?
Yes, and as I'm sitting here thinking, I would propose that, and I hope you're familiar with this particular signage, but at the entrance to all buildings, there's now, like I said, a large format sign that was created by the JIC, by the Joint Information Center, and it has different sections of information about hand sanitizing, about face coverings. I would propose perhaps just adding on there and adding on their language that this building does receive frequent cleaning without having to necessarily identify what schedule is being adhered to. Would that suffice in your eyes as far as notifying the public or the occupants of that building that at least there are efforts being made to provide that additional level of service?
I think it's good that, I mean, the some of the signs you was talking about, you know, social distancing and all that, I wasn't talking about. I was talking about actually when the contractors or when city employees come in and do their cleaning of the knobs. That particular signage I'm talking about. If that's what's behind the door, just take it from behind the door, so I don't have to go to the bathroom and find out when somebody come to the building. Can it be posted in other areas so somebody walk through the building, it's visible to them?
Councilor Stokes, that's what I was proposing. So this other multi-messaging poster might be the ideal place to do that. So as an individual is seeing all the other efforts being made within the space to keep them safe and healthy, they would also see notification that this building is cleaned at this frequency, and that high touch points are being sanitized. And my apologies, I can't immediately recall what's on the signage, but there may be one section of that multi-informational poster that references that high touch points are being sanitized. I will double check that, but I believe that would be the most prudent place to place that information, so that again, all that COVID indoor safety information will be in one central place, so we don't have the buildings littered with flyers taped to the wall where individuals may or may not see them. Because this multi-informational poster is very colorful. It is eye-catching. It is designed to be able to provide all the information that an individual should need to know about what is being done in a building and how they need to comport themselves in that space to be COVID compliant.
And thank you. Because of this uptick in COVID, it would be wonderful wherever you think is good, where everything else is posted. So thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Stoll. Committee members, do we have any questions regarding this bill? Okay, I do have a question. Bear with me just a few moments. I'll go ahead and ask my questions. Other cities, like Philadelphia, they have published safe cleaning and disinfection guidance of public spaces for COVID-19. Does DGS or the Health Department have a similar document? And if so, is it something that we publish externally?
Hi, Chi-Chi Nyaganesh, DGS. I'm not, if you wouldn't mind, give me a little background on the health guidance that Philadelphia has posted and what kind of information is in it, and I'll be able to respond on whether that is information we are currently making public, or if not, if we could.
It's information about disinfecting your space, about safe cleaning, and specifically for employees. Do we have a similar document?
Yes, Madam Chair. So there is a document, we spoke about it in an earlier hearing, but I will speak about it now since this is a different hearing. But there is a document that the RSOC, the Restoring Services Oversight Committee, started working on about April or May, and it's called the Employee Resource Guide. We are now in the midst of refreshing it because there's a lot more information to be shared. Guidelines have changed a lot over the last 16 months, and the instructions that we need to give people on what actions they need to take, the directions that we ourselves as agencies and building owners and managers and vehicle owners and managers need to take have changed as well. And so that document has very recently been updated and will continue to be kept current. Within that document, there are a series of we call them chapters related to different aspects of COVID, one of which is related to facilities and vehicles. Within that chapter, there's an FAQ section that has several questions about what is being done in the spaces, what employees should do, what areas are their responsibility. So to your point, your own workspace, your desktop, your laptop, your keyboard, that is the responsibility of the employee to wipe down at the beginning or end of their shift, whereas the common spaces, the hallways, the lobby areas, the bathrooms, the elevators, those are the responsibility of the janitorial companies. And so that information again is present in the Employee Resource Guide, and we always, when we have the opportunity, request that folks submit additional questions to the Restoration Services email box if there are questions that they still have that are not addressed within that resource guide, so that we can. The question that I have is very likely to be a question that someone else has, and so by us responding to that question in that public document, we're able to provide additional clarification and perhaps a sense of comfort to more than just the person who asked the question.
And Director, that actually leads me, it leads me into my next question, because you did mention that the computer, say your keyboard, it's going to be the responsibility of the employee. And this may be a question for our safety czar at this time. We know that computer keyboards, they're difficult to clean due to the spaces between the keys, the sensitivity of the hardware to liquids, and when shared, they may contribute to indirect transmission. So for locations with, say, community use computers, or if we're thinking about shared spacing going into the future, are we going to provide signage regarding proper hand hygiene, actual signage before and after using the computers to minimize disease transmission? Have we considered using computer keyboard covers to protect the hardware and facilitate cleaning? And also, are we providing employees with gloves for when they do have to use, say, communal technology? I feel like I gave you a ton of questions at once, but if you can remember them, or if you need me to repeat them, just let me know.
So yes,
absolutely.
go ahead. Go ahead, Chi
Yeah,
Chi. You can start us off.
yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and you can follow up for me, Chi Chi, and anything I miss here. But in terms of your suggestions, those are all areas that we are looking right now to procure. I don't know if those have been approved at this time, but it's something that in the midst of the Delta variant that I'm very much concerned about and something that I would like to have. We do have signage in place and there is hand sanitizer at those shared workspaces. I feel that this is an area that is mitigated by sanitizer itself. That kills the virus. We don't necessarily need the gloves and the covers. It could be an issue of convenience, but we will be addressing that.
If I may add something to that, so a similar area where we found we had a great deal of concern about shared devices was with the rollout of Workday and the employee biometrics check-in kiosks. And so a lot of what Ms. Gianchi has just spoken about, the concerns, there was very vigorous debate about what level of responsibility lies with the employee, what cleaning or sanitizing products could we make available, would gloves be required at those stations. And so there is very, very explicit instructions posted at each of these biometrics clocks that indicate what needs to happen as far as hand sanitizing before and after using the biometrics clock, as well as the protocols for regularly scheduled cleaning, sanitization of the unit itself. And so that may be another consideration to be put in place in shared work areas where, for instance, a shared keyboard is used.
Okay. You mentioned, I'm not sure if it was within this hearing or the other hearing, but how, say, if a DGS employee does not have a mask, or if another employee does not have a mask, that you're going to provide them with what they need so they can be safe. Do we have PPE specific kits? And maybe this is not necessarily for DGS, maybe it's for our safety czar again, but do we have kits available for our employees, prepackaged kits with maybe hand sanitizer, with masks, with the other items that our departments would need specific to do their job? Do we have those available just outside of the hand sanitizer stations that are set up?
So we have ready kits for emergency situations right now. So in a sense where we have to respond to an emergency, we do have those available. However, for our city workers, the protocol is that the agencies put the request in via Web EOC, and then it gets filled through Web EOC. And I will also defer to Chief Wallace if he has anything additional to add on this, because he has really been responding to the PPE needs from the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, and thank you, Tiana. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the question. Pretty much what Tiana just said, the flow of the work right now with regard to PPE is initiated at the Web EOC level by the specific agency. We stock right now an abundance of supplies, both cleaning and PPE, which is distributed out to the city, to city agencies based on those particular requests. We do not stock specific kits per se, but within those kits, the components that you mentioned are things that we do stock and we are able to provide in a very short turnaround back to the city agencies as long as we do have those in stock.
Thank you, Chief Wallace. Thank you, Director. Thanks to our safety czar as well. Councilman Stokes, did you have any additional questions, or committee members, did you have any additional questions?
Well, I do not. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you to all of our agencies who are present at this time. We're going to move on to public testimony. Matthew Peterson, our committee staff is going to check to see if we have any public attendees who would like to testify on this bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, we have no hands raised, computer users, and no calls.
Okay, so that's going to conclude our public testimony on Resolution 21-0005R. The committee is going to recess the hearing on Resolution 21-0005R and may reconvene at a later date. That concludes the hearings for today. I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning, and everyone be safe. Bye-bye.